Okay. Today we have an opportunity to learn from a seasoned professional who will be reporting on his career in operations consulting and providing young adults with advice on jumpstarting a successful career in that field. Mr. Chet Harmer has been providing consulting and training in process improvement and Lean Six Sigma concepts for the past 25 years, working with such organizations such as Adidas, Cisco Systems, GE Capital, and Principal Financial Group. His global experience includes working with London, Paris, Hong Kong, Singapore, Tokyo, Sydney, and Sao Paulo. Prior to becoming a consultant, Chet spent 15 years in financial management positions with Hewlett Packard. He had operations and financial consulting experience with Coopers and Lybrand and KPMG. He has been involved as a volunteer with the BYU Management Society for the past 25 years and recently was the worldwide president. Chet has been a CPA since 1969 and holds both a bachelor's and master's degree in accounting from Brigham Young University. Welcome, Chet.
Thank you.
Can you tell us more about your college experience?
Yes, I can. I started my freshman year at BYU in Provo, Utah with a major in chemical engineering. It only took me about one semester to determine that was not the major for me. It seemed like I liked the chemistry part, but I didn't like the engineering part. I then changed to a major in political science, thinking it would take me in the direction of being an attorney. Again, it only took me about a semester to determine that I was a lot better at working with numbers than I was with words, and attorneys deal with concepts and things of that nature. So once again, time for a change. I then changed to a major in accounting. Now, fortunately, the Department of Accounting and the School of Business at BYU is regarded as one of the best in the United States. It's usually ranked number 1, 2, or 3. I like business and I like working with numbers, so accounting ended up being a good third choice for me. I ended up getting bachelor's and master's degrees in accounting.
So how did you transition from your college experience to a role in operations consulting?
Well, the first thing I need to let you know that the job operational consulting did not exist when I first left college and started my full-time career. So what you're going to find is I took quite a few different steps in getting to the career that I've been for the last 25 years.
So tell us more about your career path and what's helped you to become so successful in your career.
Well, with a master's degree in accounting, I was able to get a job in the audit department of a large CPA firm. It's called KPMG. At the present time, KPMG is one of what's called the Big Four accounting firms. And I worked in their San Jose, California office. That meant I left BYU in Provo, Utah, and moved to San Jose, California. My first goal with this firm was to qualify for being a CPA. That's a certification in accounting, public accounting. So certified public accountant. And this was for the state of California. In order to do this, I needed 2 years of audit-related experience. After the 2 years were finished, I began to think about getting another job because I was not satisfied with the content of my job or the social dynamics of working for a large CPA firm. I now knew some things I didn't like about a job, but I didn't know everything that I would like. So during the next 6 years, I had several jobs. All of them are with smaller companies. 2 of my jobs were with small companies which ended up in bankruptcy. Another was a technical sales job, and another was with a medium-sized company where I found my career opportunities were not very good. I then decided to work for a large company that had a good reputation as a successful company, as well as treating their employees well. This company was called Hewlett Packard, sometimes known as HP. By this time, I was beginning to see some of the attributes of organizations that I liked and some I didn't like. I spent 15 years with HP. There were several things that I liked about them. Even though the company was very large, it had over 50,000 employees, it was divided into smaller operating units that were relatively autonomous. This allowed you to feel as if you were working for a small company that had the financial backing of a larger one. Also, you could transfer from one division to another. HP treated their employees fairly and provided good training to help you be more effective in your career with the company. Employees tended to stay with HP for a long time. That was a lot different than other companies in Silicon Valley. Because the company was growing, there tended to be good job opportunities and career paths. I worked in 3 divisions of HP in the San Jose area, and I had 5 different jobs in the accounting and financial function. In my last accounting and financial position, I was a controller for a large division. This particular division was going through a lot of growth. Over a 7-year period that I was with them, it grew from $40 million a year to $1 billion a year in sales. So I had the opportunity to begin to learn how to analyze and work processes, because when you're growing that fast, there's lots of things that go wrong. This was the beginning of my transition into the type of job I like the best, operational consulting, which means understanding the processes by which an organization operates and what's going wrong and what's going right, and making improvements. So then I went to work for a large consulting organization with over 50,000 employees. I was reminded again that I didn't like working for large bureaucratic organizations. I then went to work for a small consulting organization called Pivotal Resources. They have about 40 independent contractors as opposed to employees. That allowed me to work with large, successful client organizations to help them become more successful. And this is when I was able to work with GE, with Cisco Systems, with Adidas, and other large companies. I've worked for this consulting organization, Pivotal Resources, for over 25 years.
Great. So, Chet, it sounds like you've had an amazing career. Could you tell us, how well did your formal education prepare you for your profession?
Well, if you remember from what I've just finished saying, the job of operational consulting didn't exist when I first got out of school. But I can tell you that my formal accounting and business education prepared me for my current job in the following ways. First of all, it taught me how businesses operate. There's a very important thing to understand, that all businesses have a business cycle. You acquire customers, you take orders from those customers, then you fulfill the orders, you do what you said you're going to do, then you provide a billing for your work, and then you collect on those billings. And in parallel with that, you also develop new products and services. So all of those are processes. And that helped me a great deal as I started learning about operational consulting. My formal education taught me about accounting, which is the financial language of business. So when people say, gee, we're losing money, I could look at financial statements and do some analysis and get some idea of why they're losing money. So the remainder of the knowledge that I gained through on the job experience from jobs previous to my operational consulting job. So the fact that I'd worked in 11 other places, I'd had experiences to see how organizations operated. And I had an idea of what caused them to operate well and not too well.
I understand. So tell me, what are the most important rewards and challenges of being in operations consulting?
Well, I remember when I was a controller in the last division of HP that I worked in, and I started learning about how to improve processes. And it was like, wow, I like doing this. I don't like to put up with rework and scrap and problems and people not working well together and losing money. I don't like any of that. So if I found that there was a logical way to improve business operations, that's really what I wanted. I had no idea that that job existed. And at that time, because HP was a very forward-looking company, it was on the forefront of service organizations. That means non-manufacturing. And so I was kind of in a laboratory where we were leaders. And so the rewards that I get is I like making things better. I like helping people. I like people to work together well. And all of those are components of making improvements in businesses. So some of the things that are most important are I mainly work on projects that have a beginning and an end. I get to have a sense of completion when the project is finished. I wouldn't do very well to work on a 10-year project. I think, not good. But I like projects that say, not working very well, let's figure out why, make some changes. Now it's working very well. Let's move on to the next project. So the main challenge comes from not getting enough support from key project stakeholders because they have different priorities. So whenever you work on a project, there's people whose help and support you need in order for the projects to be successful. We call those stakeholders. And if what you're working on isn't a high priority for them, then that's the problem. So I would say that's one of the big challenges is people deciding what they want to improve in a company, because there's always more things to improve than you have resources to do. So you have to prioritize and getting the right support. So I would say those are some of the most important rewards and challenges of being in this profession.
Thank you. In any profession, there can be certifications, there can be advanced learning that is helpful to being successful. Can you tell us what certificates, what advanced learning you found helpful to being an operations consultant?
Sure, I can do that. I would say when I first started learning about this, and people would say, well, what do you do? And you would say, well, I improve work processes. And as more companies got involved in this, some nomenclature came and some certifications. So there were two main companies that had an influence on the whole area of improving work processes. One had to do with the area called Six Sigma, and that was Motorola. So Motorola had some high volume manufacturing locations, and they wanted to improve their processes. They wanted to reduce scrap rates. They wanted to increase yields. And so Motorola was kind of the home of Six Sigma. The other word that you hear in the area that I'm in is called lean, L-E-A-N. So if you think about the word lean, it means making things more streamlined, taking the fat out of processes, making them more effective. And the Toyota production system was the main source of that. So the advantage that I had is as I was learning about this and being in a laboratory at HP, we were learning how to do things that didn't even have a name at that time. And then for years after that, many people have got into this type of work. So I would say in as far as certifications are concerned, the word belt was used. So there's a green belt, a black belt, a master black belt. And usually now companies that do this well include the concepts of lean and the concepts of reducing variation. This is what Six Sigma is all about. So we hear about Lean Six Sigma, green belts, black belts, master black belts. And in that order, it just means you have more experience and you have more tools in your tool belt. It's also very helpful to learn how to manage projects. And so there's project management certification.
Sounds like there's a lot of additional learning that you can get after you've completed your college. So what do you see as some of the most important characteristics of the most successful leaders in operations management?
I would say there's several attributes, but some of the most important ones are being analytical, wanting to know that if there is a problem, why is there a problem, collecting data about why there's a problem. There was a person that had his PhD in statistics that used to work for me at HP, and he kind of coined this phrase, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And I thought that was really interesting. And I began to see how many managers based their ideas and what they're going to do on opinions, and that's not good. So being analytical, being able to collect the right type of data, and then be able to communicate the benefits of what you're working on to key stakeholders. And remember, stakeholders are the individuals inside and outside your organization whose help and support you need for your project to be successful. So being analytical, collecting data, and be able to communicate what you're finding and the benefits to key stakeholders. Another characteristic of the most successful leaders in my profession is being able to do good work in prioritizing the projects that will provide the best result. There was an analogy one time, a story that talked about a person that always wanted to work quickly, but wasn't looking carefully as to whether he was working on the right thing. And one day he said, I found a really fast way to climb up the ladder. But when I got to the top, I found it was leaning against the wrong wall. So sometimes, sometimes we do that. So we need to be able to do a good job in prioritizing the projects we're going to work on, which ones have the best results, which ones have the data that we want to look at, and then be able to communicate. So I think those are some of the characteristics of the most successful leaders in my profession.
Thank you. Could you tell us a little bit more about your profession as far as what trends are impacting your business now?
I would say a very important trend is, even though we hear a lot about small companies and being successful, small companies sooner or later get absorbed into larger companies and larger. And if you look at technology now, the major technology companies could probably be counted on two hands, whereas they've gobbled up lots of other companies. And so what I found is knowing that companies are going to be larger and larger, and if you need to collect data, where in the past you'd collect small amounts of data before you made decisions, now you need to collect a lot of data. There's something called data analytics that more and more colleges and universities are providing majors in. So my thought is a part of improving work processes is to collect data. And if you're going to collect large amounts of data, it means you need to have more information system skills. And I think if you took classes in data analytics, you would find it's a combination of information systems and good business practices. So I would say that that's probably one of the major trends. You still need to be analytical, still need to communicate. But when you work for some of these large companies, being good in data analytics is really important.
So Chet, could you tell us a little bit more? What advice would you give to someone that is interested in exploring or jumpstarting a career in operations consulting?
Well, what I found is that if you can talk to people that are doing the type of job that you think you would like to do, that's going to help you a great deal. Now, earlier in our discussion today, I said I started off in chemical engineering. Well, I didn't do that because I talked to someone in chemical engineering. I liked my chemistry class in high school, and I thought it'd be kind of fun, but that wasn't it. And then I thought, well, I've seen some TV shows about being an attorney. That might be fun. So I went into political science. And so it took me a couple of moves before I got into accounting. And I think if I'd had the opportunity to talk to people that are doing similar things that I would like to do, it would have been much more helpful. So now that my type of job exists in many well-known companies and the services are offered in many consulting companies, I would suggest someone that's interested in jumpstarting a career in my job to be able to find some people doing what I do and then talk to them. The other part of this is some companies care more about making money in any way that they can. If it means laying off people, if it means not treating people fairly, not treating their customers well. Companies like that don't do the type of operations improvement I'm talking about. The type of people that do what I do say, I want people to cooperate, to have common goals, to listen to what customers are saying, and grow our business because we provide good products and services in an economical way. And in fact, I remember when I was working with GE Capital, and that was part of my first major job when I got into this operational consulting after leaving Coopers and Lybrand. And in GE, I was really impressed. They said, we want to grow our business and make more profit while satisfying our customers. We want to balance growing productivity and profitability with satisfying customers. And if you're able to find companies that say, we want to satisfy our customers, we want to have good employees that work with us a long time and enjoy their work, and we want to have satisfied customers. Satisfied customers, satisfied employees, you'll make more profit. So what you want to do is to go to work for an organization that wants to do that. And organizations like that place importance on using data to effectively monitor and improve work processes while treating employees well and treating customers well. If you went to work for a company like that, you'll get great on-the-job training in these types of organizations. So those are two ways that I think you could jumpstart a career in this type of job: finding someone that actually does the job, and then going to work for a company that fosters that type of activity.
I see. Thank you. So if a young adult is interested in exploring a career in operations consulting, where would you direct them to do research, additional research?
Well, we're fortunate that in the area of operational consulting, there is one major nonprofit organization, a professional organization called the American Society for Quality. It's been around for a long time. It's known by the initials ASQ. If it were me, I would Google ASQ and find out where the closest chapter is. So I live in Provo, Utah, and the closest chapter is in Salt Lake City. And they have monthly meetings and they have speakers and you have people that you can network with. And so if I was a young adult and I wanted to research a career in being an operations consultant, I would become affiliated with them, get to know people, network, and so on.
Okay, and I believe their website is asq.org. Is that also to where you would go for networking?
Yes, but you know, the network now often you'll be on a Zoom meeting like we are right now. And as things get better, hope they will, you'll be in some physical meetings. But actually, between you and me, I learn just as much from talking to people on Zoom as I do, you know, in person. But getting involved in those chapter activities and then getting to know people. They're always interested in having young adults, which are the future of every organization, be involved with them. So I would agree with what you were saying. Go to asq.org, find out the closest chapter, and often those meetings are going to be virtual anyway, so you can still be distant and be involved in their activities.
Chet, we're running short on time, but I wanted to ask you, is there any other career advice that you'd like to offer for young adults?
Yes, and this is based on my own experience. I used to pick a job based on, well, I think this would be interesting. And if someone else was excited about that job and I respected their opinion, I thought, well, I probably would be. What I found is different people have different likes and dislikes. They also have different capabilities. I found I'm much better with numbers and working with work processes as opposed to doing calculus and doing complicated things. So what I found is that if you can find out about as many different types of jobs that you think you would be interested in, talking to people that do those jobs, and then if you can do an internship, or even if you, like me, I had several jobs that I only had for 1 or 2 years. What I don't want to do is be a person that says, I can hardly wait until I retire because I don't like my job. I want to have a job that I really enjoy. So I would say probably 3 things. I want to have a job that I'm passionate about. I really enjoy doing that work. Number 2, I can do it well. My capabilities fit into that. And the third part, that I can make enough money to be self-reliant. So I look at those 3 things, career advice. Then the second one that we've talked a little bit about, I join a network of people in my local area, whether the network is virtual or in person, where I can meet with people that have similar interests and learn how they became successful in their careers. The BYU Management Society has been invaluable for me. All the people that I've met, that I've observed, that I've learned from, that's a great network. But in parallel with that, I also needed a network through the American Society for Quality, so that I could learn that specific type of thing. So those would be some career advice that I would offer to young adults.
That's terrific. One final question. You have been a great champion for the Young Professionals Career Engagement Program. You've opened it up around the world, chapters in various continents. Can you tell us why?
I like helping people. And in the last 25 years, I've done a lot of traveling. And as I've traveled to different places, if they didn't already have a management society chapter that I could meet with while I was there, I would help start one. So over the years, I've helped start probably about 30 chapters of the management society. And if you, as a person, like to help people and see them be successful in their life and do things they're passionate about and do things that they can do well and still make enough money to be self-reliant, you like to do that. And so some people like to golf. I'm not very good at golf. But other people just like to be involved with organizations and help people. So I would say my travel that took me to many different countries gave me the opportunity to meet people there and learn from their cultures. And I just like to help people.
Well, Mr. Chet Harmer, we want to thank you for the time that you took today. This has been very, very helpful. You've given some great advice about a career as an operations consultant, and then also helping the next generation to be successful. So to wrap up this video, we'd like to remind our viewers that a great way to learn more about a profession is to conduct your own informational interviews with seasoned professionals. To learn more about how to conduct an informational interview, you can watch the video that we have on our website titled Conducting Informational Interviews. Again, thank you, Mr. Harmer, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.